Okay, good morning or good afternoon. Welcome to the Real Deal panel at CareerCon 2021. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Crystal Montalvo. I am the Director of Community Educational Engagement at the College of Staten Island, and I am joined today with undergraduate and graduate students from the three colleges on Staten Island. So we are going to go ahead and get started. My first question to today's panelists is really for them to introduce themselves first, their name, where they go to school, a little bit about their major, and then we can go into the panelist questions. Is that okay? Does that work? All right. So Sayuri, since you are the first person I see to my right, I'm going to ask you to go first, please.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Sayuri Sayakkara. I am a sophomore at the Mekhi Honors Program at the College of Staten Island. I'm a biology major on the pre-medical track, and I plan to attend medical school in the future.
Thank you. Gabriella, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Gabriella Diorio. I go to Wagner College in Staten Island, New York. I'm a commuter. I am a biopsychology major with a minor in philosophy. I am looking into grad schools for occupational therapy with a focus in pediatrics for after graduation next spring. And I'm involved on campus. I'm in free health club, free dental club. I am in a commuter club, and I do a lot of work in research in the psychology department.
Great, thank you. Roger, would you like to go next?
Yeah, my name is Roger Geuvara. I am a junior communications arts major. I go to St. John's University. And for the future, I'm still undecided. Grad school is looking like a good option right now, but it's still in the air, so figuring it out.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Mekhi, would you like to go next?
Yes, so good afternoon. My name is Makai Washington. I am a current graduate student at the University of Albany, SUNY. I also did my undergrad there, where I majored in English. Well, I had a double major in English and Latin American Caribbean Studies with a minor in Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies. And for my grad school degree, I am currently still studying U.S. Latino Studies. And I also work for New York State Department of Labor in the Youth and Young Adult Department.
Thank you, Mekhi. All right, so this is our first question for today's panel. Did you always plan on going to college? Why did you choose your current school? And why did you choose your major? So anyone who wants to go first, feel free to jump in.
I can go first if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. So yes, I always planned on attending college because I was interested in the medical field from such a young age. So I knew for that I had to get the bachelor's, medical school, the process. And my parents are also college graduates, so they always kind of emphasize the importance of attending college and getting a good education. My current institution, I chose my current institution because the Mekhi Honors Program at CSI, I knew that they were going to provide me with opportunities to explore just different career paths in the medical field because I was really interested in that and I always knew that's what I wanted to do. And I knew that they were going to help me to grow as a student and challenge me and also just grow as a person in general. And my institution, they have been very helpful in preparing me for my future career with just connecting me with opportunities and different experiences. And for my major, I'm a biology major. So I chose my major because I just always thought that, for medical school, you have to be a biology major, you have to know it. But when I started college and I started taking more classes, just very focused biology classes, I was just so fascinated with the human body, how it functions. And I just knew that I wanted to major in that area. So I thought, why not? So now I'm loving it.
Thank you, Sayuri. Who would like to go next?
I can go next.
Thanks, Gabriella.
So I always did plan on going to college. My parents both went to college. It was just kind of how my academic life was set up to be. I can see why some kids, college isn't for them. I know high school can be a tough transition anyway. I chose my current school Wagner College. It was kind of a long story, but to make it short, I originally was going to go away. I was going to go to Adelphi University in Long Island. It was beautiful. I loved it. I went to Tottenville High School in Staten Island, and they have like pre-med and they have pre-dental opportunities, some finance opportunities. And I was in pre-dental, and I wanted to be a dentist for a very long time. And I was going to Adelphi because they were affiliated with Tufts in a 7-year program. So it was all in my favor for that. And then I went away for the weekend, and I did not like not being home. I am much of a homebody. I very much miss my family. I very much did not like not being on Staten Island. And that was a big reality check for me that maybe I'm not going to live away. And I remember going to Wagner right the first day of classes starting, and like my parents got me and they were like, well, we'll keep on going. You're going to still go to school. We applied to Wagner. It's like pretty much a backup school just as a safe haven of Staten Island. And I just remember going there that day and being like, wow, like this is a very nice school that I just overlooked because I wanted to go away. And it just felt so homey when I finally got there. So my choice of it originally being a backup and now loving where I am, I like sharing that story for myself. And again, I originally wanted to do dental, so I was a biology major. I was in the same mindset as, oh, you're going to do medical, you need to be a biology major. And I had really great advisors and professors. And when I started changing my mind and told them I wanted to look into occupational therapy and stuff like that, they explained to me Wagner has a biopsychology major. So they really guided me on my path to declaring what my major was.
That's great. Thank you. Roger, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't have anybody go to college in my family, so I was like first generation. I always knew I wanted to, just because my parents always kept it in my head. It was like, you're going to college, you're going to college, you're going to college. So since that was always there, I always had that in mind. And when the time came, like with my senior year, high school came, and I started applying for colleges, looking into colleges, I really didn't think about St. John's. St. John's wasn't an option for me. And then my guidance counselor actually pushed me. She's the one who was like, go for it. The worst they could say is no, and if you can't afford it, or if they don't give you any aid or anything like that, at least you tried, at least you know. But if you never do it, you're never gonna know exactly if they're gonna offer any aid or if they're gonna give any scholarships, stuff like that. But I did it. St. John's was the best choice I've made. It wasn't my number one, but it wasn't the one I wanted. But after like 2 years now, 3 years here at St. John's, I really thankful that I came here. My major is communications now. When I started, it was business. I was a business undecided major. I wanted to do something with business because my parents are always in the business world. I didn't know exactly what, but then a couple of events and couple of trips that St. John's offered changed my mentality completely. It was like I did a lot of service trips, a lot of volunteering, a lot of social justice trips and stuff like that. So it changed my aspect of what I want to do in my life, and it wasn't in the business world. It was more in the media and the communications type of world. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Between you and Gabriella, it sounds like you really found what you want to do and how to do that after you got to college. It wasn't something that was sort of clear to you before that, right? Is that fair to say? Okay. All right, Makai.
So I always knew that I wanted to go to college. I chose my current college because, why did I choose Albany? Well, I chose Albany because one, I knew I wanted to go to a state school because if I was going to be paying for school on my own, I know it's something that I can afford. I heard a lot of great things about Albany that kind of drew me to the school, but I also liked that the school was like very liberal. There was a lot of like groups on campus. It's a very diverse school. It's very big also. So those are things that drew me in because I know myself as a person, I am a social butterfly. I absolutely love talking. I love being involved. I've always been that way ever since being a child. So I knew I wanted to go to a school where I can just be around multiple different types of groups of people. And I chose my major because I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was like, okay, like I'll major in English. But then when I got to the university and I was in these groups, like I realized like I can take a class to learn about like Latino people. I can take a class to learn about literally anything from pottery and art to I've taken so many different types. I took a comic book class and it was like a 400 level type of class. Like, if that is not to show you, like, you can literally take a class on anything. And I like that I was able to, like, pick something that really interests me. And women's studies as well as Latin American studies was something that really interests me. And there are also fields that, although like it's a cultural studies field, I could essentially enter any kind of field that I want to. I can go to med school. I can go to literally, like, I have a background in linguistics and like speech and stuff like that. Like, I can go to do speech pathology. Like, I can go into any kind of field. So that was something that I knew that as a person, I'm ever changing, ever evolving, that I wanted to have a background that I'm not constrained to one field. So yes, that's why I chose my major.
Thank you, Makai. Yes, it definitely comes through that you are not shy. I will just say that. I love it. Okay, so that actually is a really nice lead up to our next question. So you talked a little bit about how, you all found yourselves on campus. Can you talk more specifically about the clubs and organizations that you're involved with and how that has shaped your overall college experience?
Okay, I guess I'll just lead into the next one. So, I am literally involved in everything. I was on at least 2 e-boards every year. I'm in a sorority. I'm a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. It's the same sorority as Kamala Harris. Founded on the HBCU, first Black sorority. However, it is historically Black, but it's not exclusive to Black people. So I would say that me joining organizations, it was something that it it put me around like-minded people. It put me around like people that I can't, like, not just like people to do like social things with, but people that I can also put in my business network. It opened up my network for me to be able to like make connections with a lot of people that maybe I wouldn't have made connections with. And that's not even just in being in a social organization. I'm also in a multitude of honor societies as well. So being in those organizations has definitely helped me network. It's helped me make a lot of mentors, a lot of contacts. Even in my job now, like sometimes I'll be in certain types of meetings and I'll recognize faces from me doing community service with different organizations or different career centers. And I would say definitely joining organizations and whatever that may be, clubs on campus, it's something that you need to do. It's important to get out to make friends because yes, we are going to college to learn, but we're also going to college to make friends. We're going to college to make friends with colleagues. Like, you never know how someone can be instrumental into your progress and in your career development. So I would say personally, like, my advice would be when you go to college, talk to everyone, even if it's someone that you wouldn't naturally speak to, maybe someone that you couldn't, that you like, wouldn't necessarily be in your friend group, but always, always, always speak to people. You're always building connections, always keep in touch with your professors. Like, I still go back and speak to classes for professors that I had my freshman year. It's always important to keep a report because you never know when you may need someone, whether it be for a recommendation, for a job, grad school, whatever.
Thank you, Makai. Does anyone want to follow up with that question?
I could start. Okay.
Sure.
So with clubs and organizations, I feel like I was a little bit of the opposite, to be honest, because so I'm in my sophomore year now. I'm finishing my sophomore year, but my freshman year was like, actually the first semester of my freshman year was the only time that I was like fully on campus, because my second semester, half of it was on campus and then we moved online with the pandemic. So it was just really, really challenging, joining a club, organization, anything. But I tried to like attend a lot of virtual events for the clubs and organizations. And it was really helpful with the pre-med, the Macaulay Pre-Med Club. They had a lot of events that I really liked. For example, last week they did a graduate fair and a lot of like different schools, just graduate programs, medical schools, MD, PhD, dental schools, like everything you could possibly think of. think about like 50 schools. They were all there. And I had the opportunity to connect with basically all of them, just go up to them, virtually go up to them and talk to admissions counselors. And it was just so helpful. And I absolutely loved it, because if that was not organized, I don't think at a time like this, it would have happened on our own. Like, we wouldn't have the opportunity to go do that right now. And I'm also in the NSCS chapter at CSI, which is another thing that I really love. They do have a lot of opportunities, scholarships, internships, things like that, that I always look into. So that's something that I like too. So those are the two organizations.
That's great. Thank you. Gabriella, I saw you took it. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I'm in a good amount of stuff at Wagner. I feel like I'm in between you guys, where I was able to be involved before the pandemic hit, but I'm not as involved as I would like to be, or as my other fellow panelist was. But I am in a pre-health and pre-dental society, just from the past of wanting to be in the health field, and they give great opportunities of meeting other professionals, of being able to talk to people who like made it through medical school, made it through dental school, hearing their college experiences, which I love those takeaways, because you get to like hear real people's, just like this, you get to hear real people's stories, and how like it might not be perfect all the time. And it's nice to like hear a doctor say that, or hear a dentist be like, oh, I had a rough patch too. Like, so I really get a lot of value out of those. I'm also in the Women's Professional Network at Wagner College, which I love. It's, again, almost maybe like 2 Fridays a month, they get alumni to come in and speak, women to speak about their careers throughout Wagner, their careers beyond Wagner and affiliations. And it just gives a really nice network to know people from your own institution, which I really, really enjoy. And especially as a woman, just getting like girl power is always very nice. I'm also on the e-board of our commuter club. It's just starting up again, which is fun, because it's nice to have, of course, if you live on campus, I don't know, I'm sure you guys might not live on campus, but all the residents seem to like know each other and have that community. And it's interesting to, once you reach out to other commuters, to be like, wow, like we do want a sense of community, but no one really says it. So the girls I'm working with on this club are really trying to focus in on getting commuters have a sense of purpose on campus, and to really be able to reach out to each other in opportunities where we really wouldn't in the past, and to get to know each other and what's going on. So that's very fun. I feel like that brings out some of what I want to see change on campus. And I'm also in the NSLS chapter at Wagner College, and that was a really nice experience as well to be involved. And I don't know if it's a club or organization per se, but I'm a research assistant in the psychology department. I said it before a little bit, and it's nice to get that professor friend that sees something in you where you can do more than just your classes, and you can have that sense of community with your friends and with more educated people that you can admire.
Gabriella. Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So for St. John's University on Staten campus, is a pretty small campus, so which means that there are more opportunities to be involved. My freshman year, I would just go home, go to school, go to work, go back home. I wouldn't stay on campus. Like, I knew that events were happening, and this was my freshman year, the first semester. Then my second semester, I knew that I had to make a change, because I'm like, if I'm not gonna join any clubs or join any event or join any departments, I'm not gonna make friends, and I'm not gonna have any connections. I'm not gonna network. And then my sophomore year, I was the sophomore senator for student government. I was also a diversity peer educator, a rotation leader, a career peer. So it was for different departments. And then the clubs, after I became an orientation leader, I met a lot of people joining, being part of the e-boards. So they would invite me to the clubs. I would join and support different clubs. It'll be a lot to tell you which clubs I'm part of, so I'll leave that at that. My junior year, it was like towards the end of my sophomore year during the pandemic. I was elected student government president of the St. John's Staten campus. So that has been like life changing. It has been a big responsibility. All the other positions are still there. Just this one has been taking like a main focus on my life right now. I'm thankful that I actually got this position, because anything that I would have done wouldn't give me the experience I have now, or the people I've met over the last year. So definitely, I would say I would recommend every single student, watching this, to join, to not be afraid, because that's another thing. I joined student government as okay, let's just do it, let's see what happens, my sophomore year, and then I got sophomore senator, and then for my next year, I'm like, I kind of like being out of my comfort zone, so let's keep going. So that's why I went for, sitting on president is not like something small, is a big position, big responsibility as well. So that's what I'm part of on campus.
That's great. Thank you, Roger. You actually bring us nicely into this next question, which is about what this past year has been for all of you as college students and graduate students. What's been different this past year? I guess beginning with the obvious, and then we can go to the not so obvious. And what have you learned? What are those major, like, big takeaways that you've taken with you from this past year? And I'll call out the panelists so that we're not confused. So again, Sayuri, since you're on my right, I'm going with you first.
Okay, so the past year has, well, definitely been completely different from what I experienced in my freshman year, like most specifically my first semester of freshman year. And it was just, at first, it was very challenging just adjusting to online school, because some classes, would be a little bit easier to adjust to while some are not. And then I'm a bio major, so I know I have a lot of lab classes, which is not easy to do online. So that has been a little challenging, but as I went on, I guess I got the hang of it, and then I felt a little better about it. Um, but overall, there were a lot of lessons that I definitely learned, like really valuable lessons. First, it was that just time management and responsibility, because that is something that is just key to online school. It's a lot of it. I'm not sure why, because it is, you're learning. It's the same thing. You're learning. There's a professor, but a lot of it feels like it's on you, and you do have to manage your time really well, because you're home, so you always have the sense of, I'm home. Like, it's not that campus setting, but the time management and responsibility. So like you have to do your work, and you have to manage your time, so you have to be on top of your things. So I definitely learned that. And I also learned just to take care of my physical and mental health. And it's just not during a pandemic, but in a stressful situation. Like, I'm home. I feel like I'm always home, but I also need to do things that are like, I don't need to go outside, but I can take a minute, just take a walk and go outside, get some fresh air. Like, it's okay. So I learned little things to help with that. And the last thing, kind of, I think, is one of the biggest things that I learned, was to just look for like creative ways to look for opportunities and experiences, because you're not going to get them the same way that you would in a traditional manner. So, like, for example, I'm doing virtual shadowing now, which is not something that I ever expected to do as a pre-med student, but I'm loving it, and I'm learning a lot. So, and it's a creative way to just get that experience before going into medical school. So, yeah.
Thank you, Sayuri, and thank you for providing an example. That was really helpful. Gabriella, would you like to go next?
Of course. So again, it's obviously so different, online learning and everything, not being able to separate school from home anymore. And I feel like that was a big thing for myself. I'm an only child, so it was just a lot of me and my parents and me doing schoolwork all day. And as someone who does take a lot of science courses, that was probably one of the most different things, is how labs work and how the science courses are distributed over Zoom can be a lot more difficult. I know, at least for Wagner, there was a lot of models that we got to see and use, and I'm sure in CSI and St. John's too, the experience was just so different. And Wagner is doing a very good job. We are back in person, hybrid mostly, but some classes we did get to go fully in person. I go to campus twice a week, so I'm really loving that. And I feel like I learned to appreciate being on campus much more. Not that I took it for granted in the past, but just being able to be back and see professors face to face and just see other students, even with like masks 6 feet apart, just to like be there. I really think I appreciate being in school much more. And I'm sure people would never think that they would want to be in school. And my mom always jokes that like, oh, like the little kids are so happy to actually be in school, and whoever would be. But I definitely learned that. I definitely learned how to write emails very, very nicely, as most of my communication was through emails. And I think it was just not, of course, it wasn't nice. Everything that happened wasn't nice, but I feel like it was, in a way, nice because the professors understood you more and you understood them more because you were all going through this at the same time. And I feel like they appreciate us being on campus more now as well, just for the social communication of it. So that's nice. And yeah, just it was hard, and everyone probably thinks it was hard, whether you're in high school now, whether you had siblings in elementary school, and you all had to be home at the same time. But I think I learned a lot about myself and what works for me, and I know I need my personal space when I'm doing things. I know if everyone's on the internet, I'm going to get upset because it's not going to work as fast as I would want it to. And I think communication was a very, very big thing that I took away of figuring myself out.
Thank you, Gabriella. Roger, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Studying in the aspect of student government, I would say that the fun part was taken away from us through COVID. We couldn't have any, in-person events. So I started, my presidency fall of fall of 2020. So we were already in that pandemic. We were already there, and it was very challenging at first. It was like, so what are we gonna do? Could we have any events at all? If we're virtual events, how are we gonna work that? And so it was a challenging first phase that had to do with my executive board and my senate board, just because nobody knew what was going on, nobody knew what was happening. Everybody was going with it at the same time. Like there was no past presidents who had an idea of what to do in a virtual world. There was like no guidelines, so we had to figure that out. We had to figure out what events worked, what didn't work, what was Zoom better than WebEx or WebEx better than Zoom? Did we use Teams? What would we use? So that was definitely a challenging moment. It changed the way I also communicate with different individuals. Like I really also prefer in person. I prefer seeing someone, seeing their reading their body, reading what if they smile, what would it be like? Different aspects of like how people react to what you're telling them. So not having that, having someone behind the screen, not being able to have side conversations, stuff like that, really was really challenging. And it still is. I mean, we have biweekly meetings, and all biweekly meetings are through WebEx. So it's very hard to keep them engaged or keep anybody engaged. Um, with schoolwork and something like that, St. John's also offered in person, and is still offering in person. So I've been taking this past semester and this semester I'm taking 3 classes in person. So I've had the opportunity to be here, and as student government president, I also have my own office. So I'm always on campus now. So I'm good. It was challenging, very challenging at first. I didn't like online classes. I couldn't couldn't listen. I couldn't just stay. I couldn't do the work on my own. But like I also needed to learn, and I learned how to time manage myself. Set a time specifically for that one class. Keep time separate for myself. Keep time for different classes. Don't mix things up. If I'm at home, have a space indicated for schoolwork, and not so much do homework in my bed or do a class in bed, because I know that by the time I wake up, the class is over. Or like I wouldn't even notice when the class would be over. Um, Another thing would be, I guess, just being present. Just because sometimes, if you're like for me, like if I wasn't at home, and the camera's off, I'll just be disconnected from school, be disconnected from clubs, organizations. So it's just that having that little push where like sometimes you're at home, you're comfortable, you don't want to do anything, and it's just you got to get up or continue with the day, because it's easy. It's easy to just pull your laptop over, keep your camera off, keep your mic off, just pay attention, because you don't really pay attention when you're laying down. But I'm also thankful for the year that 2020 brought to us, because it made us realize the connections at home, and made us appreciate people a little bit more. So I'm thankful for that, and it changed me a lot. I guess it did change me a lot in the aspect of communicating as well. Like I had to learn. Part of the presidency was sending a lot of emails left and right, sending memos, sending information, making sure the information is clear and does the job right, and everybody's on the same page. Even that, keeping everybody on the same page through a virtual world. Some don't get the emails, some do get the emails. During the WebEx, it just cuts off. It's all of those challenges that we overcame. So And now we're ready. If somebody can't join a meeting in person, let's say for fall of 2021, then this is definitely WebEx. It's different alternatives. So I see it as a plus. I see it as a blessing.
Thank you, Roger. Mekhi, would you like to answer that question?
So yes. Well, in the last May, I was supposed to graduate. I didn't get to have a graduation. So for me, some of the milestones that I was, looking forward to celebrating, I wasn't able to celebrate. And I had been looking forward to it for a long time. So, I did have to make a lot of adjustments, not just for graduation, but for everything else. As me graduating, I'm actually like entering the real world, and like having a job and deciding if I'm going to continue my education or work or do both, because some people do have to do both, because not everyone has the luxury of just going to school and saying, okay, yeah, my parents are going to pay for it. So that was something that I was faced with. So I was able to find a job in the pandemic, which was really, really good. And although it was hard to do it, I reached out to my network. I reached out to my mentors. I literally called them up one day and said, hi, I need a job. I don't want to be broke. My mentor organized a few mock interviews with different people in the area, that have positions and fields that I'm interested in. And at the end of one of the mock interviews, one of the people, she said, if you don't hear back from this job by the end of the week, call me and you have a job with me, definitely. And I have that job, and I've been here for almost a year now. So that just goes back to me saying, definitely reach out to your networks. You never know how willing people are to help you if you do not ask. You have to ask. Also, I would say doing mock interviews to help sharpen your interview skills is absolutely necessary. It's very, very good. It can be very helpful to you, because even if you do certain things, I know sometimes when I talk, I move my hands a lot. So that's something in me being virtual that I really have to work on, because in person, people can kind of sense your body language and kind of gauge you and, bring you back in and make you feel comfortable. But over the computer, it's not really like that. Some people also don't have as much patience, or they're like, why is this girl moving so much? So yeah, definitely. I would say that this last year has brought about a lot of adjustments. However, I'm a very optimistic person. I'm not someone that lets things get me down. So I was like, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. I can work from home, which is great. As a lazy millennial, I love it. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Mekhi. All right, so this brings us to our last question. What is the best advice you would give to students that are deciding whether or not to go to college and whether they should go? Sayuri, we will start with you again.
Okay. The best advice that I have is to just kind of, I don't mean to sound cliche or anything, but just to be more open to opportunities and experiences that's coming your way when you go into college, or if you plan to take that route. Because college in itself, it's a great opportunity to kind of explore different areas of study and your talents, your interests, things that you've always liked. So you want to do a little bit, try a little bit of everything, because at the end, those things make you excited for your future. And at the end, that those things can lead to a potential career path, which is something that you want. You want to have a career that you're going to enjoy in your life. So that's the best advice that I can give.
Thank you, Sayuri. Gabriella, would you like to go next?
Some advice I would give if you're deciding on whether or not you want to go to college is, my professor actually talked about this a few weeks ago, and I thought about it after hearing from the emails from you guys. And he said, even if you aren't going to stick it out and you just are going to go for a semester or a year, it's still a learning experience, and you're going to relearn a lot of stuff you'll see in a lot of your classes. You might have learned math in high school, and in college you're going to learn the same math again, but just built on it. And he really grounds us sometimes when he talks about relearning things and just the continuation of knowledge and how important that is. So you might not go and love it, but you're still learning. You're learning critical thinking skills. You're learning solve problems. You're learning more than what the course material is. You're learning communication skills. You're learning social skills and friendship and all of that. And if you go on and get a job and a career out of it, great. And if you decide college isn't for you and you go to a trade school, you would look into a city job or anything like that that might not need a full bachelor's, or you decide you do want to go to medical school, you're still building all of these skills to help you in the real world, to help you in a job, in anything. So just taking that first step and seeing what you like and just seeing how you learn, I think is the best advice that I've been given and can give, just to put yourself out there and see what you're capable of, and don't sell yourself short either. Try everything.
Thank you, Gabriella. Roger, would you like to go next?
Yeah. I guess a piece of advice would be, like part what Sayuri said was be open-minded. For me, what worked for me was talking to different individuals who attended college, who weren't thinking about college, and was just like listen to them, listen to what they have to say, listen to the options, but don't really be influenced by like what they say. If that might be a little confusing, but it's like know what you want. At the end of the day, it's like your choice. At the end of the day, it's what your life is going to be, what your choice is going to be, is going to affect you. And so listen to your parents, listen to your siblings, to your uncles, to your aunts, to your family, friends. Listen to everybody, what they have to offer, what they have to say about college, what are their point of views, and then also inform yourself in that aspect. Inform yourself in like, okay, I'm going to this college because my parents are telling me to go to college. Am I going to college because what is the reason behind it? And just be real with yourself, because sometimes you're like, okay, this is what I really want, but not really. So you really have to understand, and sometimes writing things down works. It has helped me a lot as well. Just like, okay, like in school we do a lot of like brainstorming, and like it actually helps in the real world. Like, brainstorm exactly what you want. What's your interest? What do you want to do for the next 4 years or the next 2 years? Because you could go to college for your associates and then come back for bachelor's, whatever the case might be. And then, okay, I really don't want to do college. College is not an option, or college is just something I never wanted to attend. And another thing would be not to focus so much on the college experience. That is a big part of it, but just keep in mind, at the end of the day, you do need to get your bachelor's. You can't have your college experience for like or like work for your college experience for a while, unless that's your plan. If your plan is to work for your college, for your bachelor's, for instead of getting 4 years, you want to get it 6 years because you want to be part-time, whatever the case might be. Also keep that in mind. Keep in mind, what are your goals. If you want to say like if you're gonna go to medical school later, keep in mind, if you have to get your bachelor's to get your medical, to go to medical school. And depending on exactly what you want, and sometimes you don't know. Like, for example, I didn't know when I came in, I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I thought I knew what I wanted, but I also had to keep my eyes open, keep my mind open to see, okay, I kind of want to do this, even if it's not in your zone, it's not like in your comfort zone. Just go out and seek it, because you might be, because for me, I never thought I would switch my major. I'm just like, I'm gonna go as business major, and I'm gonna graduate with a business bachelor's, a bachelor's in business. And then that didn't happen. I'm gonna graduate with a communications, in with a bachelor's in communication arts and a minor in media management. So it's not what I came for, but it's completely the opposite. And it's like being open minded throughout the whole time, not just at the beginning, not just when you're about to apply. So like, if you don't know what to do, you could go as undecided. That's an option. So you could really go as undecided for college, and you don't have to go to an expensive college either. It's like you go to a inexpensive college, and it's not so much about the name, it's so much about what you make out of it. Because I could have come to St. John's and not be part of anything, and just, okay, you're part of St. John's, but you're not involved, you're not active, you're not doing anything on campus. So it wouldn't be as worth it as if, okay, I came here and I met these amazing individuals. I came here, I met a lot of professors. I came here, I learned these skills. And it's like, what do you make out of it? It's not so much of like where you go, it's what you make out of it. Because it could be the best school, but if you're not active, nothing's gonna you know nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna be there. So open minded, gotta be open minded for sure.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you. All right, Makai, you want to bring us home?
Yes. So, this is more of so of like, well, me as a student, as a millennial, as a youth, but also like someone who does like work with this stuff every day. Everyone does not have to go to college to have a great career. For those that are not interested in college, there's apprenticeships, on the job training programs, a host of other things which we offer on our NYSDOL website. So if you go to Department of Labor for New York and you just like search apprenticeships, you'll find like a bunch of resources. You'll find resources for the military, you'll find resources for apprenticeships, on the job trainings, even internships if that's what you're looking for. It's okay to not know what you want. You could always go into Job Zone or Career Zone. We have a portfolio where you could like list your interests. You could take different objective assessments to kind of help see where your interests lie and what fields would be interesting to you. On different levels. I believe it's 5 levels, starting from like retail and stuff, and then like the higher level jobs, which of course pay more money. There's also you could look up like different colleges, like they have different profiles. You can do literally any kind of career exploration that you want to do through Career Zone or through Job Zone, and these are free to the user. Not even just in New York State, but these are free to the user. Websites and guides and resources that people need, because not everyone can go to a school that can afford Naviance, like the best, most premium account of Naviance. Not everyone can afford that, right? So it's important that we had like these resources that are free to everyone, because career exploration, like you don't want to invest a lot of multiple years of your education to get into a field and realize you don't like it, right? That's a waste of your time. That's a waste of your money. Education is great. I'm obviously an absolute supporter of education, but I'm also a supporter of not wasting your time. So if you know that maybe college isn't maybe the avenue for you, or maybe going to a 4-year isn't for you, then maybe thinking about doing like on the job training. Get some different types of credentials, like a serve safe if you want to like work in like a culinary tract, or get like different types of welding licenses, because you don't have to go to a college and get a 4-year degree. You can get like, for example, if you wanted to do the medical tract, I'm not too sure, but I know like you can get like your first aid, like CPR certificate, then you can get like a PCA, then MA. Like you don't have to just go to 4 years. Like you don't have to do it traditionally. You can do different steps at different times if you want to. And I think that it's very important that we're patient with ourselves, because you don't want to be burnt out before you actually get in a field. Like you want to go into a field that does not feel like work. While yes, every job does not feel like a vacation. You will feel like you are at work, but you want it to be work that you like. So that is just something that I would like to emphasize. And once again, if you're not familiar with it already, please do visit Job Zone, Career Zone. There's so many resources for scholarships. Whatever you are looking for, you can spotlight search and find on one of those sites.
Thank you so much, Makai. That was so helpful. All right, so that concludes the end of this panel. I wanted to thank our panelists for their time, their wisdom, sharing their stories and their experiences with us. I hope that our audience gains a lot from this. And with that, I guess I hope everyone enjoys the rest of